is you can create a private list of competitors on Twitter. So on Twitter, there's a place called List where you can create a new list. So on the right-hand side, you'll see on the drop-down, it's New List, and then here we created a list of competitors. But you can make that a private list. That way, you'll be watching your competitors, but they don't know that you're watching them. So what's good about that is that remains private. If you follow them on LinkedIn or Facebook and they know you're a competitor, they might be able to see that. So unless you create a separate LinkedIn or Facebook page, they would be able to probably see that it was you. But on Twitter, with using the private list, they won't be able to see that. And the last slide, the last bullet point is you can subscribe to their blog RSS feed, which again, it depends on what email you're using, but they would be able to see what email that is. But the Twitter list is private.
Right. And on the private lists, if you add them to a private list on Twitter, are there posts going to appear on your timeline, or are those private as well?
Well, yeah, they'll appear, but what you can do is when you want to specifically view the list, you would go and click on that list, and you can just see all of them at once.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Okay, and then how to recruit. Oh, sorry, I came back from ad tech, so my motor skills are great. Okay, recruit Rabid fans. So basically, these are some old tricks, but they really should be applied to everything you're doing across all your marketing. So you want to first off include the links of social media in your site. So if you're on Facebook and Twitter, you can have the Facebook and Twitter icons where they can click and just automatically find link directly to your Facebook page or your Twitter page. But if you have a blog, you can actually include the Facebook widget where they can just like you on the spot. So if they're already signed in to Facebook, which chances are they probably are, they can just click like immediately. They can also, you can add a Twitter widget where they can view part of your stream, and then they can join the conversation with you on Twitter. Also, you can include your social media links on your email signature and then across the rest of your marketing materials. So if you send out email newsletters, besides just having those icons, you can also engage them to, you can add widgets that have the retweet button and the Facebook share button. And if you have maybe a blog post that's being mentioned in your email newsletter, and it can spread virally if you give them options to share that with their friends, and then if you also show them where they can become a fan and follow you on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, if you use any of the commercial WordPress themes, most of those now have built-in social networking widget. So when you're actually doing the configuration, it'll be asking you for your Facebook page and your Twitter address and all that, so that then those automatically populate across the top of your blog or somewhere else on your blog when you're once you've submitted that information.
Yeah, they make it it's pretty simplified to use, and I definitely recommend doing it. So you also want to just start with your personal network. If you're starting from scratch, that's the first place to go. Is people that might already be advocates of your site, people that are already your customers, and it's a lot easier to engage with them since they're already interested and already probably fans of what you're doing, but letting them know the easiest way to find you. And suggesting the page to your friends on Facebook and letting your friends know that they can join you on Twitter. Starting there and then having that spread to other people. But you should always just use that as a starting point and leverage the connections that you already have. And of course, the more useful content you publish and the more often you publish it, the more they're going to come to you as a resource. The main point of social media, besides building good connections, is you want to make yourself the expert in your industry. So if you're talking about football, then people want to hear from you all the best tips about football, all the news. I mean, every time there's a football game and someone's winning, I mean, interact with your audience, talk to their fans. If you lost, I mean, they're going to want to rant about it and talk about it. Use that to your advantage, but focus on the same topic and make yourself known as the expert, so that when they want to purchase something or when they have a question, they're going to think of you and they're going to come to you and go to your fan page or ask you a question through Twitter. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, promotions can be a good way to build your following as well. I mean, if you've got a giveaway or something like that, you can do a giveaway and say, hey, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to give away a $25 gift card or something like that, and draw it random, and then give something away, because if you engage people like that, and then you actually give something away, chances are that person's going to come back later and say, hey, check out what I bought with my $25 gift card I picked up at xyz.com, and that's another mention for you down the road, and you've hopefully picked up a brand evangelist at that point who will help you kind of spread the word as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think on the next slide I'll go into some other ways that we can recruit people into the fan page, and contests are a really great way, especially if you're starting from scratch. Can you actually go back for 1 second? You want to build good karma. So rather than just talking about yourself, if you have a good industry of people and you complement each other, promote them and promote industry thought leaders on your page. Sometimes with some of our accounts, we give shout outs to people, and that's when we actually get the most interactions on our fan page. When we mention someone else and when we link to them, they're very happy to be mentioned, and they'll start sharing that with their friends, and then we'll start getting a lot of comments from that. So try to also mention other people that are in your network. Okay, we can go to the next one. Okay, things that I would not recommend doing, like I mentioned earlier, not to automate the post. There are certain things you can automate, and Twitter is a lot easier to automate, where you can make sure that you're linking to Football Fanatics or to Wade, but you set that ahead of time, but you make sure that the Twitter account links to it. But don't automate everything to where you're posting the same thing across all the social media platforms, because the audiences are different. And if you're just grabbing a post, which I see a lot of people do straight from their RSS feed, where it's like new blog post and it says whatever the content is in a link, that's not going to strike up much of a conversation if you see something like that going up every half an hour or every hour, where it just runs straight through from the blog. It's not linking to anything, and it's not going to maximize what you could be doing. Don't hard sell. So it's more about the conversations. I mean, you can even have fun with it and if you're passionate about what you're doing, have conversations with other fans that I'm sure are fanatics and are going to want to talk about that. But it's not about saying, here, buy this t-shirts. It's more about saying, here's what we love about football, and then, here are all the resources we have. And then if someone wins a game, every once in a while you can say, I'm trying to think of a football.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you could do, for instance, Football Fanatics is all about hot markets, so it's all about, the results of a big game. So let's go back to like the NCAA basketball championships. If you had been working for like 3 months to build up a big following for your basketball blog and your basketball blog Twitter account, and after the final buzzer goes off, if you then go in and say, hey, congratulations, congratulations to to Duke or to Kentucky or whoever's winning the game, get your national champions jerseys now at, and then drop your link. Nothing at all wrong with that. But if
Right.
the only thing that you're posting is buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, you're not going to build an audience, and you're not going to, people that are following you aren't going to stay following you, because you're not having a conversation. You're trying to sell something.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly along the lines of what I wanted to say. So besides that, you don't want to just follow back one person. I see a lot of accounts that think it's all about numbers and it'll look better if I have 5,000 people following me, but I'm only following back 200 people.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about what that means in terms of following back, and how that takes place.
Yeah, when I'm talking about following back, I'm really talking about on Twitter, because on Facebook you'll have fans, but you don't necessarily need to follow them back. It's not like a friend request where it's both ways. But on Twitter, you can follow pretty much anyone without having to personally know them. So if you're familiar with your network, or you're searching keywords and you see a lot of people are fans of the San Francisco Giants, and that's your main niche site, and you want to start following some of those people, and you're posting content that's relevant to them, you definitely do want to follow them, because chances are when you follow someone like that, they will see, Microstaff is now following you on Twitter. They might click on that, and then they'll see like my most recent tweets that I've sent out on Twitter. Then they'll be able to see if I'm relevant to them, or if they find me interesting, and if they want to follow me or not. And chances are, if you're targeting the right kind of people and you start following them, they're going to follow you back. So there's no reason not to follow the people that are your target audience. You definitely want to do that. And like I said before, oh, go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, there's not a problem with having kind of a focus on quality. So you don't have to follow everybody back by any means, but if you see people following you that you think provide valuable content as well, by all means, give them a follow back. And it's all kind of about that whole conversational angle. Twitter is a two-way thing. And so if you're valuing something that somebody's bringing to the table, giving them a little bit of love as well is certainly not a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's not like a Facebook friend request where it's two-sided and you have to be friends with them. Like you said, you don't have to follow every single person back, but start building that network and start following people, especially the people that you're interacting with often on Twitter. And like I said earlier, don't broadcast messages. So it's not a one-way street where you're just either putting out there your information or you're saying buy this or buy that. It's more of networking. So what you're doing is you're networking online and you're having conversations, and it's something, the last bullet point is something a lot of people worry about. Don't worry about the numbers. You can have, and you can even pay for a bunch of random fans that are not targeted. I would not recommend it. I mean, I think it's way more effective to grow fans organically, the way that Wade was saying, where he's posting and he's interacting with people and he's getting maybe like 10 new followers a day just from doing that and having conversations. It's way more important to have interactions than it is to have a ton of people. Just like it is in affiliate programs. I mean, you might have 5,000 people in an affiliate program, but there's a small percentage that are actually the main people that are driving sales in that program. Same thing on Facebook and Twitter. You can have 1 million fans, but if they're not targeted and they're not interested in your product or your service, they're not going to be interacting. But if you target people and you interact with people that are fanatics of what you're talking about, then you're going to have a lot more interactions. So that's more important. You should look at the activity and the interactions and increasing that more so than just increasing the numbers.